to the growth of Japanese studies in Greece and his efforts for the advancement of mutual understanding between Japan and Greece.
It is a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Alexandropoulos here and to honor his effort tonight. Dr. Alexandropoulos is Emeritus Professor of History of Religion at Theological School of History.
Last, when Fujisawa-san, responsible for cultural matters at that time, told me that this great honor is about to come. Since last year, Shintani-san took care of all the necessary procedures. I want to thank them both from the bottom of my heart. With deep feelings of thankfulness and sincere gratitude, I accept the honor offered to me today by His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Japan. By using for the first time in Greece original texts and by keeping my research continuously in step with the international developments in the field, I introduced Japanese studies in Greece. It sounds so simple. In fact, I cannot describe by words how hard it has been. In a country like ours, with no Asian Studies department, with no institutes or centers specializing in Japanology, doing Japanese studies meant working, first of all, save for the support of some dedicated friends, utterly alone. It meant working without the help of an appropriate library, without a specialist in proximity. It also meant working without the help of a necessary material. It also meant, bringing here the necessary material by pleading people who had the luck to live in countries that did have these facilities. Of course, periods in which I worked in Japan did exist. Every time I sent some research proposal to a Japanese university, I was fortunately accepted, and hence, during the time I stayed there, able to cover these needs in situ. But during the same time, I also spent a big part of my time in collecting hundreds of books and in making thousands of photocopies. Second-hand book dealers in Jimbocho and Takatanobaba knew me as their najimi, that is, as their good and frequent customer. I knew the desert that waited for me upon returning home and tried to fill up all possible needs. Shipped back to Greece, all this material is now a huge library that awaits the institution which will sometime, hopefully, decide to host Japanese studies under its roof. In the research concerning my own specialty, I tried, like every diligent and conscientious scholar, to keep in pace with international developments. But in parallel, I also tried to introduce areas of Japanese civilization unknown to Greece. In art, I discovered that many knew about Suibokuga, but with the exception of 2 or 3 people, no one knew about Nihonga or Shinhanga. Names like Takeshi Yumeji or Japtsu were equally almost unheard of. Buddhist art, its history, its styles, its symbolism were completely unknown. It me felt the precious role to introduce here all these areas of my beloved civilization. As far as literature is concerned, people knew about haiku, but they did not know about waka. People knew Yasunari Kawabata, but they did not know other great personages of Japanese literature. When I first went to Japan, I discovered that names other than Kawabata, unknown to my country, were considered far bigger than him, like Natsume Soseki. Therefore, my guiding principle has been, up to now, to make known the so far unknown, to make up for what has been missing. Whereas I did all I could on the one hand in scholarship and on the other in disseminating Japanese civilization, there is something in which I have failed. something that remains as a constant sore point in my heart. All my efforts to establish a Japanese studies department, even as a part of a larger Asian studies department, have not met with success. Innumerable times I have tried to convince people who have the power to do that. Innumerable times I tried to share my passion with people who held positions to show the need, to make them understand that not to have nowadays an Asian studies department at some Greek university amounts to almost something scandalous, in vain. Meanwhile, our neighboring Bulgaria has the felicity to boast even 3 Japanese studies departments at 3 different universities. I confess that I'm really jealous. Japanese studies, Japanese civilization, these are objects of a love affair. Moved by that love, I will of course keep dedicating my efforts to their further cultivation, to their further dissemination in my country. And I do keep hoping that also on institutional level, sometime better days may be ahead. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much once more for the I am very
Κύριε Επίτροπε Αλεξανδρόπουλε. Θα ακολουθήσει τώρα η τελετή βράβευσης της Ιωάννας Χαρίτου Μπάρτζη για την πολυετή προσφορά της στην προώθηση